Hello, my name is Jason Tanksley, and I'm a teaching artist here at McPhail. And we will be working on the Tuba All-State Etudes. I came up with 5 different tips that I think can help you play this etude. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is just how the words change the music that we play. So if you look at the top of your page, it says adagiato cantabile. So that means there's a slow tempo and you're also singing. So you want to play these notes very connected and very, very legato. And then if you look here at bar 5, we have some more words. I see allegro agitato, which means a faster tempo and that it's agitated. So you want to really bring out those 2 different characters, if you will. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is how do you play slurred and how do you play articulated? There's lots of slurs and articulation markings in the music. So at the beginning, we have a lot of slurs under our notes. So how do we do that? So to play a slurred note on any brass instrument, not just tuba, you want to keep your airstream as smooth as possible. So the tendency is when we play our instrument, when we hit our valves, we have all this different length of tubing and we feel the difference in the tuba. So we tend to blow a little bit differently when we feel the resistance. So what you want to do is just keep blowing against that resistance. So one thing I like to do to practice is I hit the valves and just blow air through the tuba. You can feel the resistance of the tuba, and that'll look something like this. So you can do that any time that you have slurred notes or legato notes. Make sure that your air never dips down. So it should never be something like that. You want to just nice, steady airstream. All right, so another thing we could talk about is articulation. How do we articulate on a brass instrument or a tuba? So this is a biggie, especially for tuba players. I'm sure your band director has told you a bazillion times, tubas, you're late, or you're behind. A lot of times you could be counting right, but if your articulation isn't clear, you'll sound late. So one thing I like to think about with articulation, a good articulation is mostly air. I like to think 80% air, 20% tongue. Your tongue is just assisting the airstream, just to get a nice clean start to the note. So one way I like to practice that is just by doing breath attacks. So that was completely without tongue. I'm just using my air to start the note. So to work on just getting that 20% of tongue, all I do is now I just add my tongue, but keeping the air moving like I just did. So it'll sound something like this. So just make sure that you have a nice airstream behind your notes when you're playing articulated notes, which is a biggie, especially for most of this piece, because starting from bar 5, you have a lot of articulated notes. So you want to make sure that you're putting lots of air behind it. Another thing about this piece that I think will help you a lot is there's lots of accents, lots of staccatos, and lots of tenutos. So just make sure that you're making a difference between those. So an accented note, you're going to put a little bit more front, maybe a little bit of space in between the notes. Staccato doesn't mean short. Staccato means detached. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to play it too short where you're not getting any tone or pitch on your notes. So just make sure it's just detached from the other notes. And then tenuto, which means full value notes. So you want to play it's full value. If you have a quarter note all the way until beat 2 or beat 3 or whatever it is, you want to play it full value. Then another tip I was thinking about here is using a metronome. So in preparing this piece, I used the metronome a lot because you have these rests and these half notes that will throw you off of your rhythm. So make sure you're really, really, really working with a metronome. And if you don't have a metronome, there's plenty of great apps out there that you can download for free to have something to keep you honest on your time. Another thing I like to do, speaking of time, is just spending time away from my tuba, just singing the rhythm with my metronome. That can help you out a lot. It's just another way that you can work on your time without having to have your tuba, which, we can't practice tuba all day. So that's another way that you can do that. And then my final tip that I have is just make your best sound on every single note. Make sure that you're making a quality sound on every single note that you play. And to do that, because a lot of times we get kind of confused on how do we make a good sound on the tuba. One, listen to great tuba players. There's a lot of resources out there for free. YouTube, Spotify. There's so many great tuba players out there that you can listen to and get an idea of what you want to sound like. And then the next thing that I like to think of, and that I've been playing the tuba now for 23 years. So this is something I still think about till today, and that is to take a good breath. We spend most of our day as humans. I don't take a tuba, I call it a tuba breath. I don't take a tuba breath when I'm having a conversation like this conversation. I wouldn't go, but for tuba, that's perfect. So just make sure that you're always just filling up your body with good air, take a good breath, and filling up your tuba with quality air, and you'll make your best sound on the tuba. So another thing we can talk about is low notes. Since there's a few in there, I see a few low Fs. To get a good sound on your low notes, you have to make sure that you're not moving your air too fast. So what the tendency when we play low notes is to move our air like this. Moving lots of air very, very quickly. So to get those notes, you want to slow your airstream down. And what I mean by that, it's almost like you're fogging up a mirror. That'll help you get a nice warm sound. So one way to work on that with your tuba is just blow into the tuba. I do a lot of just blowing air into the tuba. So it's like this. Nice, gentle airstream into the tuba. And then we'll try it with a note. So let's do a low F. We'll try and just start that a few times. So you just want to make sure that you have a nice, good sound on all of your notes, whether if it's a low note or a high note. But that's a good tip to remember. Just make sure you don't blow too hard when you're playing down in the low register. So that's just a few tips that I had for this etude. I wish you luck in your preparation.